I haven't determined yet or deciphered yet what your business models are going to be, but I can tell you that typically people start businesses for a couple of reasons. You worked in an industry, your company anymore, or maybe it got downsized, or maybe you just retired. Either way, now you capitalize on that skill set. The second reason maybe is that you just want to work for yourself and you feel, well, this is a really good business idea, let me try this. But at the end of the day, it boils down to, will somebody pay for your service or your product? And before you spend a lot of money to determine that, it's important to maybe go through some of these exercises to determine the feasibility of that business. Is it a good investment? Oops. So you have a business idea, which is why you're here, or maybe you already started. So what are the next steps? Today in this class, we are going to imagine, if you will, a hypothetical situation that we got a client sitting right here, and all of us in here are going to help this client navigate through starting a business. And so we are going to determine what are those steps necessary to do so. The person up front, hypothetically, has told all of us that they want to open up a coffee shop. But I want you to see the key words up there, and that is they want to open up a coffee house for entrepreneurs, business owners. Okay? So we're going to help them go through this a little bit. We're going to talk about a winning value proposition, and we're going to understand how to write a value proposition statement. As part of your handouts, there is a sample of a value proposition statement. I don't think that they were in order. But we'll come across that here shortly on how to write that value proposition statement. But what exactly is that? It is a statement that demonstrates to a potential client or a customer or a consumer of what your product is, of what the idea of your business is. The valuation statement also explains if potential customers are willing to pay, identifies if customers are willing to pay for that product or service, identifying what that actual product or service is, and then who is your target market, who are you going after. We're going to learn a little bit later about how, although you think your customer is X, it really could be Y or Z. So we'll take a look at that as well. The value proposition statement itself is a statement that states the benefits that the customer should expect from you through your product or your service that you offer. Okay? And so the value proposition statement goes like this. For this customer who has this need for, we offer this solution is what makes our offer unique from our competition. Now this last part, of making us unique from the competition, very, very important. All right. That's why some of you are not McDonald's, or McDonald's and not Burger King, or Wendy's and not McDonald's, and so on and so forth, right? Safeway, not Fry's not Bashas', Walgreens, not CVS. I mean, there's a reason why some of us choose different products, different businesses, and so forth. So the same is going to be said for the clients, the customers, the consumers, for your businesses. They have options. So what makes you think they're going to give you their hard-earned money? Well, you got to be able to relay that in a message or through a statement such as this. So to go back to this hypothetical situation here with this person sitting here, we asked them that same question. What is your value proposition statement? So they came up with this. The Entrepreneur Coffee House is for business owners who work from home but need to find an off-site location to meet customers, vendors, and employees, but struggle to find the right environment to conduct the business. We offer a coffee shop designed for business owners with the environment, amenities, and treats to hold productive and professional business meetings. What makes our offering unique is we offer comfortable surroundings, unique meeting spaces for productive work, great coffee, and local fresh baked pastries. What I want you to identify is that nowhere in the statement did they say that they are the best coffee house in the neighborhood, in the city, in the state, in the area, that they don't offer unique blends from all over the world or anything else. They didn't say anything about that. What they talked about is that they're a coffee shop designed for the business owner. So that's their target market. Not necessarily the coffee drinker, but the business owner. And that's very important. So you need to understand, when writing this value proposition statement, who is this customer that you're writing it for? As I just mentioned, the person writing that statement for the coffee house was designing that statement not for a coffee drinker or, for lack of a better, to offend anybody, but a coffee snob, but more for a, oh, but also have, and we sell some coffee. That's the type of a mindset that this business has. So you need to understand what is your target market, your potential clients, customers or consumers. What are they looking for from your business? Do you understand them? Do you, more importantly, understand what their pain points are? And then, what are the benefits are they looking for? So when we talk about pain points, we don't necessarily mean like, ouch, pain. Although I guess that could be true. I'll give you an example. During the week, right, we go home, some of us cook for our families dinner every week, every night of the week. But on a Friday or Saturday night, you know, whoever does the cooking for the household says, you know what, I'm not cooking tonight. I want to go get a nice steak down at Texas Roadhouse. Well, Texas Roadhouse is solving that person's pain. The person doesn't want to cook. They want a steak, decent price, good drink or a beverage, what have you, and they want to go somewhere and pay for it. So what Texas Roadhouse is trying to do is create a marketing message out there that is projected towards that type of target market. They want a steak, reasonable price, good drinks, some entertainment with the people that are dancing, peanuts thrown all over the floor, the whole ambiance of the place. And so that's the pain that they're trying to solve. So in return, what sort of pain are you guys going to try and solve with your clients? That's the trick. Is what can I do? Can I cook for you? Can I sew some garments for you? Can I cut your lawn for you? Clean your pool? Fix your car? All the different things that are related to services and products. So on one of the handouts that you have is a framework from the Growth Wheel tools that we use, and it determines who your customer is. Okay? When we talk about customers, we need to look at them in two different categories. Demographics, which I think most of you guys know what demographics are. But then the second one, what people tend to forget, I say people, business owners tend to forget, is the psychographics. So I'll give you an example. Psychographics are lifestyles, activities, hobbies, the reason why people buy certain things. Demographics are what? Age, sex, income levels, maybe education level, some of those different determining factors that make up the demographic. So when determining who your target market is, you need to understand who is the client you're going to serve. I share a lot of stories, not only personally about my personal business that my wife and I used to own, but also just stories in general. One of the stories that I'll share while we're in this slide is when I was in my first year in college, I was a freshman in college, out of high school, a buddy of mine didn't want to go to college. He wanted just to get out there and make money. So he ended up getting a CDL and driving a milk truck delivering milk. And so the summer of my first semester, between spring and the fall of the next semester, he came to me and said, if you want a part-time job over the summer, if you go get a CDL, I'll get you a job. So I said, hey, why not? I'll make a little bit extra money over the summer. Got my CDL or earned a CDL and started driving this milk truck. And so during that time, where I learned a lot about the target market. And it was as simple as this. Okay, and by no means do I mean any disrespect to anybody who lives in any specific area. I'm just specifically stating the facts of target market. And it went like this. When I would go to North Scottsdale in the Paradise Valley area, I sold tons of skim milk and 1%, very little 2%, and almost no whole milk. Yet, when I came to the Southwest Valley Avenue, Goodyear, Litchfield Park, Buckeye, I sold tons of whole milk, and very 1% and almost no skim. And so it was there that I learned, wow, these are two totally separate markets. And why is it important for me to know that? Because if I'm going to go sell milk in one part of the town, I better have an inventory that is going to be something that they're going to require. If I have the opposite inventory for the opposite market, I'm going to bring a lot of milk back to the warehouse, and that's not going to be good for me. So you have to learn. I mean, it's a very basic example. Those of you who live in this West Valley, you know that if you go down the I-10, there's a number of car dealerships down there. You got Ford, you got GMC, Hyundai, Nissan, Toyota. But what you don't see down there is Volvo, BMW, Audi, Land Rover. You don't see any Lamborghini dealerships or any of the really high-end vehicles. And by no means is it because people in this area can't afford them, because let me tell you, they can. But there's not enough demand for those vehicles in this area that would warrant a dealership that sold those cars. Because if there was, guarantee you a dealer with one of those sorts of brands of vehicles would be down there right now. So it's very, very simple. We can continue to break this down, but at the end of the day, you have to understand who your target market is. So in this aspect, we talked to the person sitting here. We said, break it down to us who your target market is. And so they said that our customer is ages 35 to 60, male and female, income of about 75,000 plus. They want to come in about 1 or 2 times a week. They want some quality coffee, convenience, and they want the atmosphere. They're a business owner working out of their home office, and they need to conduct professional meetings outside of that home. Maybe they don't feel comfortable bringing strangers to the house. This presentation was first done in Gilbert, that's why it says there. So let's just say that it's at Avondale or Goodyear, it doesn't matter. Geography, you want to be close around. We want to, and the business that we're going to conduct is going to be business to consumer, and I would argue that this is also going to be business to business. So this is who we're going to market to. Okay? Nowhere on here does it say the young people that are looking for the Dutch Bro style of coffee, nor the people who are going into Starbucks to hang out and read a book, nor the people who are going to the local hangout spot because it's the hangout spot of the week or the month or the year. They simply just want to cater to business owners. And those business owners that are conducting meetings, and they want to give them a space to do so. That's it. So they truly understand who their target market is. And the reason why this is so important is because what most small businesses do, and I did, matter of fact, when my wife and I opened our business, is you imagine this market being this big thing just like this. And what ends up happening is, and I'm sure some of you can vouch for me, is you'll come outside from the grocery store or Target or Walmart or some store, and on your car will be some sort of a flyer for a sale or an event or a new business that just opened and a coupon and some other stuff. And so what those people are doing, what most small business owners tend to do when they first start, is they do what's called the shotgun approach to marketing. Meaning, we're going to just litter the streets with all of our stuff, and we're going to hope that somebody shows up. We don't know who, we don't know why, but we're going to see if somebody will show up. Okay, it's like throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. So, if I can translate this into a quick story, I had a client who came into me who wanted to throw birthday parties. Okay, and she wanted to go to Peoria. She was going to lease a 2,500 square foot commercial space. Her husband was really good at construction. He was going to build facades of a castle and a lair and all kinds of things. And they were going to throw themed birthday parties out of there. So I asked her, who's your target market? And her first words were, well, anybody who wants to throw a birthday party. I said, okay. So in her mind, this is her market. So then I asked her the next question. All right, tell me a little bit more about what the facade. You said something about a castle. She said, yeah, it's going to be a castle, kind of like a princess castle, and it's going to have pink walls and all kinds of different things, and a slide and a ball pit. And I said, okay, well, like any knights, wizards, any? She said, oh, no, just princess. And I said, all right, well, I know in today's world, times have changed, and I guess it would be open to do that. But I have 2 boys, and I can tell you, just as a father, my 2 boys aren't going to come to your place and have a birthday party. I mean, they're not. So I said, so now you can eliminate me now out of that market. Okay, I said, so tell me more. What is your price point? Okay, well, the most basic package you can get, which is essentially a single person with her kid coming in and playing for 2 hours, is going to start at, I think she said, like $85. I said, okay. What if they want to have a birthday cake? And she goes, okay, well, that package is going to start at $220. I can say, well, you just counted me out twice because my kids are going to get $50, $60 worth of pizza and tokens and Peter Piper, and we're calling it a day. So even if I can't afford the $220, $260, whatever, I'm just not doing that for a birthday party. So now you've counted me out twice, and probably a bunch of other people. So we kept going on and on with questions and questions. By the time we got done, that was her market right there. And the reason why this is a great exercise and to do these sorts of things, no matter how big or small your business is because if you're going to take the time to market on social media or some sort of a marketing campaign or any other method of getting your business out there, you want to make sure that your message is going to exactly the people that want to hear it. None of these people care out here. So you're wasting your time, your money, and your energy, or both, or all three, or above. So it's very important to have a really targeted approach so that you know that the impact is going to be there. And that's really what we want, right? I mean, you don't want to go litter people's cars and then have them do what I do sometimes, or maybe you guys have done and crumble the paper up and throw it away, hopefully in a garbage can, right? You don't want them to do that. So if you want to speak the person's language of the customer that you're trying to attract, you want to determine who they are so that we eliminate everybody else, okay? All right, I don't want to take too much more time going over that, but to me that's really important because that's half the battle right there of determining who actually wants your service and who doesn't, who can afford it, who wants it, all those good questions that you like to answer to yourself. Going back to the pains and gains, which we talked a little bit about earlier, determining in your mind, you can use this sheet that you have in your stack of papers if you like, but you can write in any of these areas, what does a customer get from you that solves their pain? Again, whatever your product or service is, what is it that you solve? And then, in return, by utilizing your service or buying your product, what do they gain? So start to list them out. My customers will eliminate their pain because I'm going to, and my customers are going to gain something because of X. So you need to be able to understand what is that give and take. You need to understand that for yourself, right? My customers really like this service. They appreciate what I'm doing. They don't mind paying my price, whatever that may be, because in return, they're going to gain X, multiplied by however many times they're going to gain from you. So it's important to understand, hey, yeah, you're right. You know what? People are really going to like being at my place of business because they're going to get this in exchange for that. Yeah, my prices are a little higher or whatever, but in return, you're going to get this product that is of quality and all those other things that come with it. For those of you who came in a little bit late, I mentioned earlier that I will email everybody in this class a copy of this presentation. So if you aren't writing fast enough or you feel like you missed something, I will send this to everyone who's in here today, so you'll get a copy of this presentation. All right. What we would like for you to do as counselors, not in this class, but to prepare for a meeting with your counselor, is to try and write your value proposition statement at home. And then when you meet with a counselor, bring it with you to the meeting and provide it to he or she so that we can take a look at it and know where your mindset is at. And we can kind of understand what your value proposition is towards your target market. Okay, so although typically we do this activity in class, for today, I would prefer that you take some of these activities home, do them, and bring them back to your counselor. Because what I've noticed over time is when I do that, and I do meet with the clients afterwards, in the next 2 weeks or so, and they bring these to me, it really helps me as a counselor out. Because now I don't have to ask a lot of questions because you guys are providing me the information that I need. All right. So how do you know if your customers want and will pay for your product or service? This is a tough one, okay? Because you know what ends up happening for a lot of people who start businesses is they use their friends and families as their test dummies, okay? So they either bake them or create the products for these folks, their friends and family, or they provide a service to their friends and family, and then they tell their friends and family, hey, we're going to start charging you now for this, and then all of a sudden, friends and family don't want your services or products anymore, because now they got to pay for it. So what's the trick? How do we get people to pay for your product or service? Well, first of all, we need to make sure that people even want it. So you have to actually get out there and talk to people, okay? Customer discovery. So how does it work? It's by validating what we call that minimum viable product. I am willing to give you my hard-earned money for this minimum viable product. In the technology world, manufacturing world, you want to create these minimum viable products because you don't want to waste a lot of money after you've created a prototype to mass produce that product, to learn that people don't even want the product to begin with. In the old days, what people used to do, they had a prototype, they said, okay, here's this new product, I know it's going to sell, and so they spend all this money creating it, then they spend even more money reproducing it, and then they go sit somewhere and they try and sell it, and nothing sells. It's a lot of money and time wasted because they didn't go talk to people to find out, first of all, what is that minimum viable product that people are actually willing to pay for? So what we suggest to people now is to go talk to people, do surveys, to get out there in the world and try to ask questions of who they feel their target market is. I'll give you an example. I have a client who created a product for wine bottles, and sort of introducing a new side of a prototype into the world. And I said, before you mass produce this, find out if people want it. He said, well, I don't know how to do that. And I said, well, find a meadery somewhere or find a place that creates wine, a wine bar of some sorts. Talk to the owner and see if you can ask the patrons if they would be willing to take a survey. Now, does every place allow you to do that? Probably not. But he found one. And they said, sure, no problem. And so he went around, showed the product to everybody, and then he gave the survey to people, and people were nice enough to fill the survey out. And he was totally shocked to find out that people liked certain things about it and didn't like others, whereas he thought the total opposite. And so it was then and there that he realized, I got to make some tweaks to this first before I take it back. Had he not done that, went through that process and created a product that nobody wanted, then he would have been, again, wasting that time and wasting that money. So we want to make sure that we take the cycle, which is, you get a business idea, you test the idea, and then you update the idea, and then test it again, update it again, and it's just a cycle, okay? All the time. Every company does this. If you don't believe me, look at your phone. Guarantee you your phone is not version 1. It's version 10, 2, 8, 6. It's a bunch of different versions. Why? Because companies and businesses are always updating products because they're getting feedback from customers, focus groups, etc., saying, we really love that it makes calls and this and that, but man, how nice would it be if it had a better sound system or a better speaker, or the picture quality was a lot better. All these different things that your phones have transformed into over time is a result of this cycle right here. Constantly testing and updating, and testing again. So we suggest doing a customer interview, and every time I this slide, I know that some people, because I know that I'm follow myself in that category, say, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not doing a survey. I'm not. But let me tell you how much time and energy you can save by going through this process. So you're going to have to come up with some questions. Definitely questions that don't lead you, the participant, into an area where you're steering them to answer a certain way. You really want to have an open question to have them elicit that response. So you're going to develop these questions and then get out there and talk to people. So we did that with this person who's sitting here, this hypothetical person, and these are some of the assumptions that they had. They assumed that that the person that's going to come to their coffee shop needs to schedule meetings outside of their home or office. They assume that they're going to be all in the morning. They also assume that they don't have any other places to go to right now. They're willing to drive at least 5 miles or less, spending $10 or so to meet a client, using out of office locations right now, whether it be the library, Starbucks, etc., to get their work done. And they don't have any favorite places that they're currently working out of right now. They're not dead set on somewhere. So they're assuming that this is who they're going to go after. So they decided to write down some questions. And here's the questions they came up with. What time of the day do you typically schedule those meetings? Tell me about the environment you like. How far do you typically drive? How much do you typically spend? What food options do you enjoy? What locations do you currently go to for your off-site meetings? And what is it about your favorite location that makes it your favorite? Now, with the answers to all that, they can say, were my assumptions correct? My hypothesis, was it correct? And if not, then what changes do I think to make sure that these people all will come to me after all? Again, I always use stories. If you don't like my stories, let me know, I'll stop. But I had a client who came up with a new dog treat that was organic, and she wasn't sure how to get it out there. She didn't know if people would even want to try it because it's a stranger making this treat out of their home. So I'll tell you what, go to the Nextdoor app and put it out there and see if people will be willing to come and either try it out or have questions for you, what have you. And she did. She had a meeting at a park. People did show up, tried the dog treat. Some people liked it, some people didn't. The people that liked it said, hey, how do I get more? And she slowly started to build up a customer base that way. So that's the way that she went about it. Again, is it literally doing surveys and stuff like that? No. But using a Nextdoor, social media, friends and family, all of the above are a good way to kind of determine is your hypothesis correct. All right, what's happening in the market? Not only is it important to understand who your target market is, but it's also great and essential to know what your competition's up to in that target market. So what's going on in the market? Who's your competition? What is the potential market share for your offering? Are you going into an area that's saturated, both online, offline, online, it doesn't matter. Is the area that you're going into saturated? Very, very important. Again, here comes another story. I had a client who was a barber who was cutting hair out of his garage. His wife was tired of a bunch of strange people showing up at all hours of the day to her home. So she finally confronted her husband and said, hey, I need you to go get, if you really want to do this and make this a business opportunity, you have to go get your own place of business. You got to get these people out of my home. They just had a young baby. So he said, no problem, I'll do that. So he went up, opened up a shop. This is a story I was told later because this person didn't come up. And now all of a sudden you got to drive out of that area to Maryville, and now you're paying $16 to $18. Could be quite a sticker shock. And so you know what? Why even bother? And so as you can tell, that's kind of how things started to go haywire on him. What made it even worse is that now he's trying to steal, not literally, but I guess that's really what it is, clients from other barbershops by displaying outside saying, hey, guess what? Today haircuts are $14, not $16 to $18, $14. So then the neighbors are upset because now we get involved in a price war. So now everybody down the road is lowering their prices, and I mean, it got crazy. End of the day, he ended up losing his business because of doing exactly that. Going into a saturated market, not understanding what the competition was like over there, and he ended up getting swallowed. Now, it's a very dramatic example of what can happen, but I don't know what the scale is of all the businesses that you guys are looking to start. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is just know what the competition is doing so that you can avoid some of those similar situations. As I mentioned earlier, when I talked about the three services that we provide, confidential counseling, the training, and the research, this is the research or the types of research that we can pull for you. We can go into the industry that you are going to operate a business in, and we can pull all the statistics, metrics to tell you what is going on in that industry real time. Both in terms of revenue, in terms of barriers to entry into the market, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if this is reports that you would be interested in getting, all you have to do is let your counselor know, and we'd be happy to pull one of these for you. When you get ready to start the business, it's also important that you conduct a competitive analysis, which looks like this, which is part of your handouts. Now, we've got 3 on there. If you want to save yourself a third of the time, you can only do 2 if you wish. But it's very important to take a look out there and see who is doing what you are doing or that you want to do. And then start to go across and look to see how can I compare myself against them. You know, maybe you haven't started yet, but you have a price in mind or a location in mind or a customer service or some sort of way of conducting the business. Compare yourself, okay, maybe do a SWOT analysis if you like, but compare yourself to maybe 2 other competitors and figure out where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses. And if you feel that you're weak compared to one of these competitors, now you have something that you can actually work on and fix. Okay? In addition, you can then determine how strong you are. What are your threats? What are your opportunities? Where do those things lie? Very, very important to compare yourself against other businesses. And in addition, you know, in business, there's no reason to ever recreate the wheel. There are people out there, I met very few businesses in this room that I'm like, wow, I've never heard of that business before. Maybe a handful of times have I heard that. Most of the time, it's just it's another business of another business of another business with a different spin and an approach. So if that's the same thing for you, go and see who's done whatever it is that you're about to embark on and see who's done it in a really nice and efficient way and copy it. Copy the formula. But you put your own little special sauce in there, your own little spin, but it's okay to copy what somebody else is doing in some aspects because there's no reason to recreate that wheel, especially if they're successful. All right, the fun part, money. What is your funding strategy if you even have one right now? And that is, how are you prepared with capital? What is that strategy? Do you even know right now what your startup costs are going to be for this business? How much working capital do you need? Another question I would ask myself is, do you have enough of capital if you were to grow? Or if your product or service was to take off? Are you prepared? Do you have enough? When starting a business, the reality is that most entrepreneurs will self-fund their business. And if you're going to self-fund your business, you better make sure that you plan. So that, because again, as the old adage says, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. Okay? So, as part of your handouts, you're more than welcome to have this copy of this estimate of business funding needs, where you can say, okay, here's how much money I estimate that I'm gonna need to start this business. And then if you wanna go a step further, after you've actually started it, you can then say, okay, here's what the actual costs were to start this business, and let me see where the difference was. Was I ahead? Was I, sorry? Oh, okay. Was I behind, or did I do it correctly? How far out of whack was I? It's pretty good to be able to measure these things. In addition, when you first start, it's really important to start keeping track of your financials. A P&L, a balance sheet, an income statement, determining here's where my revenue is coming in, here's how much it costs me to make the product or provide the service, which we call the cost of goods sold, okay, or COGS. So you have revenue minus your cost of goods sold, minus your expenses, gives you your net income. So essentially, if you sell cakes, and at the end of the month you sold $1,000 worth of cakes, that's great. Problem is it took materials to make those cakes. So then you have to take into consideration how much of those materials cost further. You got to pay the light bill, you got to pay the rent, your phone bill, anything, the other costs that are associated with your business. You take that and you subtract it from that number, that's what you get to really bring home. That's what you want to know when you're starting a business is, where's my revenues going to come from, and how many revenue streams? 1, 2, 6, 5? What are these revenue streams? And not only that, what is it going to cost? What are the cost of goods going to be to making this product or to providing the service? Lawnmowers, gas, trucks, tools, and all those different things.
And they would be in salary too, right?
I'm sorry?
Salaries.
Salaries would be in your expenses. So, go ahead.
Could I chime in? So say, what if you have a product or your job is, like, I fell into something that I never even thought of 4 months ago.
Okay.
Doing well, investor in this, I just don't know how to grow. Like you're gonna buy my product, right?
Okay.
And you come into my service. You give me a check. I take the check, and I buy the materials, I get my laborers, and then we go out and then we kind of pay each other, and then I don't really do anything until I get the next. Now in the 3 months I've done 7 out of 10, so I don't know how to, I could buy heavy equipment to save the cost on laborers. How do I get past that point, right? I'm not gonna go buy a $50,000 front end loader until I don't know how to grow that.
Well, in terms, what you're really talking about there is scale.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
right, so what you're talking about is, we're busting at the seams at this level, and we're doing well at this level, but I need to get to this level. How do I get there without incurring all this overhead and all these additional costs? Well, my rule of thumb is that growth should pay for itself. So what should happen is, you got 7 jobs so far, maybe do 14. Then what you do is take that money and then hire 2 more people that allow you to do a couple more jobs while you're continuing to lease the equipment or something else, but you're not taking out loans or putting yourself in debt or having cash flow issues because you're trying to jump to job 8 when you don't even have enough money to cover you off of job 7. See, what ends up happening, and I'm glad you brought that. What ends up happening with a lot of small businesses is that we want to act, we want to grow, we want to sell, we want to provide our services, but what ends up happening is we become a victim of our own success. And that's very easy to do. You start trying to grow too fast, but with that comes overhead costs. With that comes cash flow issues. I can do this job, but I need this payment to come in first to cover this job. So what do? Well, you don't go after that job yet. You wait till you have the money in the bank, and then you go after it. It's very easier said than done. Trust me, I get it. But that's why we always say, let growth pay for itself and scale slowly. Everybody wants to rush and grow, but you can't afford it. Slow down and take the jobs that you can, save it, and then build for the next job and the next job. And then by the time you know it, you can afford to buy a piece of equipment. It'll be a lot more cost effective for you. That's another thing, while we're on the topic of this. If you were to add more people, I want to make sure that you guys think this way as business owners, is that when we think about hiring employees in a 1099 subcontractor, a lot of folks will think of that as an expense. I can't hire nobody. I can't hire another person. I can't afford to pay them. That makes, like me, a counselor will be able to dig in your financials and tell the job, because now you're more efficient. Your processes have become more efficient. I think now, as a matter of fact, ends up happening is now you have a crew, somebody rises up through succession plan, or what have you. You're not marking in a hammer. I'm not saying this is basically not doing the job anymore. Your job is
Marketing.
Huh?
Marketing.
Yeah. Your job is getting out of the technician mentality and getting into the business owner mentality. What happens is a lot of small business owners always keep that technician mentality because they're really good at doing something. But what's ended up happening is you become so good at it that you don't ever let it go. You stay, you want things to change around you, but they don't because you're really good at what you're. That's why you have to hire good people to replicate and say, now you do it, let me step back so I can go get some more business. You keep doing that while I go over here and get business for us. That's how you scale it up a little bit. Whole tangent, but that was a great question. So, and that's what I would tell a client. If I have them, then we put, how are we gonna scale that up slowly? So, estimate costs, again, this is, actually, let me go to the next sheet. Oh, I guess that is it. On the estimated cost of your funding needs, oh, I see what it is, okay. On this sheet, this one here is, you know, when, I was just explaining this morning, earlier to a client, that as individuals, maybe some of you here bought a car or a house, maybe both, okay? Or one or the other. When you are planning to buy a big ticket item like that, you're saving, putting money away, maybe in a savings account, or maybe your tax refund check, or somehow you get enough money to buy the home or the car. But what ends up happening is you forget that once you buy that home or car, now your maintenance and other things happen. So whereas you save $10,000 to buy a car, and you finally buy it, great, but then what happens is now we need oil changes, new tires, new brakes, new windshield wipers, maybe we get into a little fender bender, now we gotta fix it. So there has to be money set aside to be able to cover those costs. Same thing with your business. You can't plan just for today. You always have to make sure that you have a budget set up so that you can plan for tomorrow or in the event that something were to occur. All right, so estimating those funding needs, it's important to keep an eye on, or to make sure that you keep in mind that you don't just need enough money for this, you need enough money in case this turns into that. That's the simplest way I can explain that. All right, team members. Even at small businesses, I understand that speaking in terms of hiring an accountant or attorney or bookkeeper may sound out of reach, maybe a little bit too much because, yeah, I'm just a tiny little business. I'm selling shirts out of my garage. I don't need all these people. And that could be the case. But if you're not that business, if you're a business that's actually generating services or creating products, it would be wise to at least build a team over time, which includes an accountant, an attorney, and a bookkeeper. All right? You want to have these people available or the numbers available in case you need their help. Many, many people come to me, and I would say that generally speaking, they're coming to talk about their financial situation. Now, financial situations happen for many different reasons, but if you start with a bookkeeper or a CPA or somebody who gets everything to nice, orderly, or in a nice organizational manner, right off the get-go, you probably won't have as many issues as someone who says, I'll get to the books later, I'm not really good at them, I know I need to do them, but out of sight, out of mind. Those are the folks that come to me and say, I got a fix. And sometimes I can and sometimes I can't help them because it's way too far gone. So from the very get-go, if you can bring these people on, great. And if not, at least learn QuickBooks or put a really nice Excel spreadsheet together that you can keep a track of some of these items. Utilize support, people like me, other professional organizations, maybe of your industry. They got SCORE out there. The economic development departments of your cities typically have mentors or at least referrals they can send you to that are mentors. Just get assistance if you can. There's no reason to go about it alone, especially with all the free services out there, just like this one. All right, so if you decided that your business is a go, what are the next steps? As part of your packet is a sheet called the 10 Steps to Starting a Business in Arizona. Literally, if you follow this sheet 1 through 10, you will form a business in the state of Arizona. It is that easy, okay? There are a lot of attorneys out there that will say, for $500, I will file an LLC for you, whereas if you just would have taken the time, for $85, you could have done the same thing. on your own, with no help. Okay? So if you don't meet with a counselor ever, never come back to us, fill this sheet. Even if you do come back to us, we're gonna tell you, what step are you on? Are you stuck? Do you need help? Let us walk you through these 10 steps for you. Choosing a name, getting your EIN, your tax identification number, filing for a TPT tax license if you're gonna be selling products, all those different things. Filing for a form of ownership. Are you a proprietor working under a DBA or a trade name? Are you an LLC? Are you creating that entity to work as your form of ownership? Are you a corporation? After you file for an LLC, at what point are you going to need an S corp election as part for your tax structure? All these different things you're going to need to know, and we can provide that help, or you can go to these steps 1 through 10 to do that as well on your own if you'd like. As part of financial preparedness for you as a business owner, it's always helpful for you to always be lender ready. It's very easier said than done, for sure. And that is to keep really good track of your credit scores, making sure you're paying your bill, personal bills on time, business bills on time, all of the above. Okay? These are all the funding sources of where typically the capital is drawn from for entrepreneurs who are going to start a business, right? They usually typically use credit cards, maybe their savings account, family and friends. I like to add the third F here, fools, family, friends, and fools, people that loan you money because you're never going to pay them back. All right? It's just a joke.
I'm sure it happens all the time.
It happens all the time. And it's not because it's on purpose.
Yeah.
We generally feel that this business is going to do it, and it doesn't. And so now you're stuck, and then problems happen. Okay? All right, monitor your personal credit at all times, and then establish a business credit. Once you start your business, you can apply for what's called a DUNS number, D-U-N-N-S. That DUNS number is your business's social security number. By utilizing the DUNS number, you can start to build a business credit for the business, so that you're not always relying on your personal credit to get lines of credit or work with other creditors, people who will provide you services or money as far as the line of credit is concerned. Make sure that you get that established. Keep all of your finances separate, especially if you have an LLC. Never deposit a check that is meant for the business into your personal account or vice versa, because if you do, you will wear away that corporate veil that you get as an LLC that offers that protection. Okay, so if I can just quickly kind of put it into a visual reference for you, when you fill out an LLC, the LLC literally becomes a separate entity from you. So you have the LLC here, and you have you right here. So when you're operating as a business and you're charging people and they're paying you, whether it's check or by card, that money for the service or the product that you sold goes right into the business bank account, right here. But let's say that one day you can't get to the bank or something happens and you deposit a check for your LLC into your bank account. Okay? What that does is it creates a crack. Just like that. And if you do it a couple more times, you create a couple more cracks. Now let's say you own a restaurant and somebody slips, falls, breaks their back or their neck or something, and sues you. All right? It happens a lot. And so they sue you, and you're like, well, that's okay. I got an LLC. The LLC protects me. It offers protections against my personal assets, and they're not going to be able to sue me personally. They're only going to be able to sue the business. All right, I'm good. The attorney goes through, starts doing some digging, finds a couple of the cracks. Somehow, because there's so many cracks, they're able to penetrate into that corporate veil. What ends up happening is the judge looks at this and says, well, seeing as that we can't determine which is which, we're just going to consider it all one. And so now the person can sue you directly for your assets and everything else. So keep everything separate. Open a separate business account, preferably not in the same institution that your personal checking or savings is at. You want to keep them different. As a matter of fact, on the next slide, on a couple of slides later, it's going to talk about working with a business banker. Business bankers are different than traditional personal banking is done, because a business banker should understand your industry. Again, quick example, I got a client who owns an HVAC, I had several that own HVAC companies. But I had one that told me that he went down to the bank across the street from his house because it was close, and they were gonna charge him a certain fee. But HVAC companies are notorious for being cyclical, very busy in the summer, and then in the fall and the winter, it kind of tails off a little bit. So I said, well, you need to go talk to this other credit union. Went and talked to the credit union banker said, you know what? Since you own an HVAC company, I'm gonna tell you what, we got a product for you. We know that HVAC companies and AC companies are very busy during the summer and not busy in the winter. So what we do is we have a program that charges you higher interest rate during the peak time so that during the low time, we're not charging you anything at all. Therefore, we understand your industry, so our products are gonna be geared to you. What if you went and opened up a bank account somewhere else that didn't understand that? Now you're paying those fees all the time and all the fees that are associated with it, no breaks, nothing else, and so you're having to suffer through it when you didn't have to because you could have went and worked with somebody who understands the industry that you work out of. Compliance.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I
No,
don't
no.
know what bank to go to then, or what
well,
bank
you
to
can-
get into your business.
You
You
can
just
do
have to research it.
research it, go online, look to see, what products they offer, what industries they work with, make a phone call. Hey, do you guys work with X and X company? Yeah or no? Okay, that just something like that. I don't expect anybody here to become an attorney, nor you may be, there may be an attorney in here, I don't know. But when it comes to compliance, you need to make sure that you operate within the rules of the law, under the regulations that are set forth by your industry. If there's any permits or licenses that you need to make sure that you stay compatible. Does anybody in here work for it? No? Okay. Anybody here an attorney? All right. So I'm going to tell you a personal horror story of mine real quick. Okay? So my wife and I, the business that we owned was a real estate company, but we were non-traditional. We didn't take people to go buy homes, and we didn't go to your home and see if we could list it for sale. We sold properties behind the scenes in bulk to investors. So for us, a transaction was not a property. For us, a transaction was 5 to 50 properties in one sale. Okay? So we had a team that did analytics for us that I ran. And what we did is, when we meet with these investment groups, they would come to us and they would say, all right, we want to look at this tape of properties. That's what they were called, the tape of properties. And I'd say, okay, what do you want to do with them? Fix and flip, fix and hold, or hold and rent? What do you want to do? And they would tell us. Then me and my team would go and run reports and say, okay, if you were to buy these properties and fix and flip, here's what we estimate you stand to make on a return. Here's what we project. The investors will then say, sounds like a good deal, we'll take it, or they'd say, nope, too high, or the return on investment's not there, so we're not going to do it. Anyway, fast forward. One of the members of the team was a 1099 contractor, meaning she was not an employee of ours. Okay, we had 8 1099s and 3 actual W-2 employees. They were ours. So they had their own laptops and they did their own work. They didn't have to come to the office. I would submit the reports to them. They'd do them at home and send them back. But they liked to come to the office because of the culture and it was fun and all the other things. So we had a gal that worked there for us and was a 1099, and she was there with me for about 3 years. Well, then she was pregnant. She became pregnant and gave birth to her son. Came back after about, like 3 months, and as most young parents would love to do, decided, I missed my baby too much to come back to work. I came back too soon. I'm just gonna leave. So we said, no problem. Thank you for coming back. When you're ready, come back, and we'll look forward to having you again. So she went on her way. About a month and a half later, we got a letter in the mail that said that she went and filed for unemployment insurance. So they sent us forms, and we sent them forms back that said, sorry, but she's not a W-2 employee, so she's a 1099 contractor, and so therefore, we're not paying social W-2. Okay, we don't expect her to dress a certain way or come in a certain hour. She doesn't have to come to the office. She's just conducting her duty. But because I allowed her to use my laptop, that was enough to constitute her as an employee. So, going back to compliance about being an attorney and knowing all the rules, okay, you need to know. And this is probably a dramatic example that maybe will never happen to you, but these are things that exist in the small business world. So make sure before you get into business, you understand the way your industry operates so that you don't have any of these issues happen like we did to us. Okay, because we thought we had done everything correctly, and we still ended up paying a penalty for it. So,
Well, how would you have defended yourself in that case? Like, what if you let her use the bathroom? Wouldn't that be the same thing as?
I'll give you a perfect example. This is how it was explained to me by that mediator. And I'll put it in terms of this building. The Stray Mountain Community College campus has a maintenance staff. If something goes wrong in this room, the AC goes out or whatever, those maintenance people will come over here and look at it and try to fix it. If they can't, they will call in a contractor company. When the contractor company comes here to troubleshoot or whatever, they don't go to the maintenance crew and say, let me borrow your tools. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Essentially, she said, let me borrow your tools to do the job, and I said, sure, here you go. That was the problem.
So as a contractor, she should have had her own computer.
At all
her-
times.
Her own stuff, because she's
At
a
all times.
contractor, that's.
And I get a lot of small business owners now that come in and talk to me, and they start telling me about how their 1099s are driving around their work trucks and this and that. I'm just like, whoa, you are crossing so many lines here, right? I mean, all I can do is tell you to fix that. Don't do that no more. Because if they get in an accident, some bad stuff's gonna happen, and by being a nice guy or gal that we all are, could bite you later. This bit me later, and I never would have thought that, never. I thought I knew enough, but apparently I didn't. All right, this is going to those banks, looking for banks that understand your business model, as we just mentioned earlier. Wow. Okay, so right now I'm gonna stop. We really tore through this presentation quick. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start on this side of the room and work across. And if we could, your name and what your business is, and have you started, or are you just here for information? You can be as elaborate as you like, but just your name and give you a brief example of what your business model is, and we'll work our way this way. So we'll start over here. Oh, no. As soon as I said, I saw the pen point right over there.
My name is Gloria Payne, and I am the owner and designer of Property Clothing Company. I design hip-hop and urban streetwear for men. And I came to this concept about, several years ago. My idea was to revolutionize sagging pants. And we worked on the project and whatever. It finally turned out to be a really nice pair of pants that are designed for the everyman, that anyone can wear. And so I talked to you before, and I was trying to get all my strategy and stuff together, and finally now I'm at a place where
You're ready.
I'm ready to launch. So
Awesome.
I'm just trying to pick up on the ideas of how to get my business strategy all in place and that kind of thing.
It's funny because I saw your name on the list. I was like, I already met with her. But so it's good that you came through as a refresher. But yes, you and I will definitely have them outside of here for sure. Oh, and by the way, sorry, I didn't mean to cut in on the next person, but so there's a counselor in all 10 community colleges. If you live from Levine all the way up to pretty much all the way up to 17, the 101, Glendale, Surprise, Litchfield Park, Tolleson, Whittier, Buckeye, and Avondale and Tolleson, then I would be your counselor. Anywhere outside of that area, you will be working with another counselor from another college. So just putting that out there. Okay?
Hi, my name's Rob Nelman. Like I said, I just kind of fell into it. I would work for Moon Valley Nursery. I would go out and do like landscape design for people's backyards for trees and stuff. I decided to kind of, while I was doing that, to also fix my own product to the customer as well. It started working a little bit, left Moon Valley, a little bit unethical. And I moved from San Francisco, and everybody out there has bocce ball courts. And I pitched it 10 times, and I've sold 7 of them in like 3 months. So the minimum sale I've done is $8,500. So my problem is I don't even have business cards.
Whoa.
And so we had wrote a deal, they gave me a check, and then his neighbor came over 3 days later, he gave me a check. So the laborers that I just hired from the side of the road, moved them over to another side. I don't know what my taxes are gonna be, because I didn't charge taxes. So I don't even have a name, I'm just
gonna stand it just like this.
It's growing, and I don't know, I can't tell them no.
You got good problems.
By the way, everything is confidential,
Yeah.
right? So I'm gonna say,
Where do I say, I need a start, like say, here, this is.
so what we do is say, okay, you've done what you've done already. now let's get you right.
Okay.
So that's where the next step would be is, forget everything that you've done, now how do we get it squared, right? By filing for your tax license, getting a business license from the city that you're operating in, figuring out are you working, working with 1099s or do you need employees? Or to the people that you currently hired, do they even have socials? Can you W-2 them? W-9, I mean,
Yeah.
go through all of that to figure out what works best for you. Now, whatever you do is what you do, I can only tell you how to do it to get it square.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you.
But thanks for sharing, appreciate that. And up here?
Yeah. My name is Blake Merrill, and I'm doing a clothing company here. It's designed to help felons when they're down, pay for their bills for their families. So basically, like, you're the head breadwinner of the family, get locked up, go down. Generally, you're going to end up selling drugs to support your family. So I'm trying to give these artists that are down in prison a way to give me their artwork. I make it in t-shirts and sell it for them, and I directly pay their family's bills. So that's the concept.
Very cool, very cool, I like that. And back here, thank you for sharing.
Oh,
My name is Tony Douglas, and I work for corporate America, for federal government, for the state government, and my last job was in 2010, and during that time, I was working for corporate America, and I kind of fell upon this idea because I became very busy in my life and never had enough time, personal time, for family and to do fun stuff. And so I wanted to start a business that would assist busy professionals or busy small businesses. And the name of my company is called Timepiece Concierge. And it's
Timepiece Concierge.
Timepiece, Timepeace. Concierge. And it is a personal assistant service. And you hire me when you need me. It's not something that, you have to hire me for a period of time. And I would say my target market are busy professionals or small businesses that would need my assistance.
Sounds like it would be a business that's fun, doing some fun things,
Yeah,
so.
because you probably wouldn't do the same thing every day.
Right. Well, very cool, appreciate you sharing, thank you very much. And then back here?
I'm Shekinah Wilson. I've been in healthcare for like 15 years, and I just want to start my own business now, so.
What kind of business?
I'm looking to maybe do like a laundromat or a beauty supply. Don't know which one yet.
Let me share this with you. I was in Gila 2 weeks ago. Don't let Gila Bend scare you, the whole, how far away it is. And I was meeting with the economic development director for the town. And he said, do you know what business would do tremendously well out here? And I said, I don't know, tell me that. He said, a laundromat. We don't have one. So the folks out there that don't have washers and dryers are actually driving either to Maricopa or to Buckeye to do their laundry. And so he said, if you, me personally, have any clients that have any need or want or desire to create a laundromat, have them come out here and let me talk to them, because we'll help them come out here. So, yeah. So if that's something you really want to do, again, Gila Bend, I know Gila Bend is like on the way to San Diego, Yuma, all that other stuff. Because I told him, I said, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but they said, well, how much do you know about Gila Bend? I said, listen, I know that there's a McDonald's where I can get a McDonald's on the way to San Diego, and there used to be a Dairy Queen where we would get an ice cream on the way back. Other than that, that's all I know. But anyway, he said that they are in desperate need of a laundromat. But the key there was, he said it will help. So the cities have money to help businesses, especially when they're trying to come in, they will help them in any way that they can. So Anyway, so that's, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then up here?
My name is Angela Heisel. I've been doing public relations and communications for about 15 years. So I recently was let go from my job, so I'm thinking maybe this is my opportunity to just start freelancing and building my own business and going from there and see how it goes.
Oh, very cool. It's exciting, a little scary,
It is very scary.
but if you're good at your craft, you know what you do, all you need is credibility. And credibility comes in the form of clients, which so this is the second and then the third and all those good things. And so, you know, we just have to plan it out well. So, well, thanks for sharing. Appreciate it.
My name is Gina Kent, and I would like to open an early learning center, but for parents and children. So parent-child early learning centers, I guess what it would be. So be high quality for parents with children 0 to 3.
Okay.
So my target market would be like stay-at-home moms,
So it's interactive.
moms who have young children, and they could come for parent-child classes like maybe once or twice a week.
Okay.
Sorry, I have
What part of town?
public speaking, so
Nope, you're
like
doing
this
fine.
would be.
I hate it.
Would you like to help her? That's your first client.
Well, I'm still looking over, like, I want to open the laundromat.
No, I was just, when you told me that, I was like, I don't have any clients right now. And I know I personally don't
I was
want to
like,
do
the
this.
universe,
but,
like, here.
yeah. So
So, yeah,
interactive,
like, I'm a teacher.
okay.
I'm a special education teacher. I normally teach special education preschool.
Hmm.
But I'm stay-at-home mom now. I have three little people under 5 who often drive me insane. So, like, appealing to other parents who might be in that same situation, who want to find a community, who want optimal development for their children, the first.
So what are you gonna do? There's like 50, 60 little people running around there.
Well, the parents won't come drop their children off. So, very small class sizes, so maybe like 6 to 8 groups of like the parent and child. And we're talking infants and toddlers.
Ah, got it.
So,
Okay.
infants and others. And really the first 3 years of your life shape who you are.
Mhm.
And like for life, the first 3 years of your life are critical, and I'm passionate about that.
Well, thank you. I mean, again, I'm sure everybody in here is very passionate in what they do. But we want to make sure that, because a lot of the time that passion blinds us from certain things. Our job as counselors, as I was just sharing just the other day, is that I'm not financially or emotionally involved or invested in any of my clients' businesses. And I know that sounds kind of cool, but it has to be that way because I need to provide a true, neutral observation and evaluation to the business and say, here's what I think you should do next, or here's what you've attempted to try, but maybe you should tweak it by doing this. And the only way to do that is to be outside of the weeds with you. So, and that's from any counselor or any consultant or anything else. You really don't want to, you really can't pair up and deep dive together because somebody's got to stay up above water and say, hold on, these things are happening and so on. So anyway, the next step is, so now you've kind of cleared that hurdle, so to speak, where you are now eligible to meet one-on-one with a counselor. So you will be getting an email or some form of communication within the next 72 hours from our lead center in Gateway. They're going to ask you to, they're going to have a counselor contact you. Now, if you wish to have counseling, it's as simple as saying, yes, let's meet. Again, there's no charge for the service. We're not going to be asking for money or anything else. But we'll do that in about 72 hours. And if you don't want counseling, you just came here today, got some information, and that's about it, that's fine too. That's the goal. The goal is to help people who are looking.
Bless you.
Thank you. Are looking for, I think I've been staring at that light too long. Are looking for help. So we're out there. Take a look and see if you would like some help. Reach out to us. I can't believe how quick we got through this. Like that was the presentation. And so I wish everybody a safe drive home, wherever that is. Thank you for being here. Make sure you've signed in. You will be getting an email from me tomorrow with this presentation, so you can have it. And for those of you who live in the West Valley, I look forward to meeting with you in the future. For those of you who live in another part of the valley, you'll be in good hands with the other counselors. We've got a really good team. Every counselor has to either have been a business owner in the past or is currently a business owner. There are several counselors right now that still have businesses on the side that they have, that they're working. And so everybody there is experienced, very educated, have to have a master's degree or higher. And so we all have kind of been there, done that. So thank you, drive safe, and good luck to you and your adventures.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you guys.